Good evening, everybody, and welcome to USD 409, April 13th, 2026 regular meeting. I would like to call this meeting to order. And first, before I call for the order of the approval of our agenda tonight, I just would like to say this week, all across the nation, we are celebrating the International Week of the Young Child. They consider the young child birth through 8. So to all the educators, all the places in our town that teach, love, support early childhood and early learning, thank you so much. And thank all the teachers after they're 8 years old for all you do too. So thank you so much. I would like to call this meeting to order with the approval of tonight's agenda as presented.
So moved.
Thank you. And may I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. Thank you so much. First is our staff recognition, and I'll let Mrs. Batson take it away.
Absolutely. And I'm going to ask Mr. Montgomery for the clicker for the we can go, because I can't remember who is actually first in there. Thank you very much. And I won't say it wrong. So first I want to recognize Kelly Mowry. Kelly is one of our transportation bus drivers, and in that, she is, speaking of early childhood, she works with one of our youngest set of students, and I personally think she's one of the most patient people I have ever met in my life. She works with our preschoolers. She prioritizes their safety and well-being throughout every transportation journey. She's consistently positive and such a bright smile. You can't help but smile in her presence. She routinely goes above and beyond her duties, and she also, often from what the stories go, routinely surprises them with little small tokens and gifts and things from her own pocketbook and from her own heart. And her dedication, coupled with that genuine care for children, her work ethic, and just her awesome spirit is what makes her the type of transportation employee, the type of Phoenix family member that we all strive to be. So please take a moment and congratulate and recognize Kelly Mowry with me and say thank you. Kelly, come on up. She's like, I don't want it. Felicia, will you take a photo since Lindsay's not here? Thank you. So in this, for those of you that haven't been here, after she receives her certificate, and Felicia's going to grab a picture, then we're going to do a family picture. So you have to turn around so Felicia can get the picture. Then we're going to turn around and we're going to take a family picture. And so Kelly, whoever's here with you, we invite you to invite them up to be in the picture with you, because we know we can't do this alone. We need our family at home supporting us as well. So, and then the board kind of gathers around and we take a big Phoenix family picture. So Felicia, I don't know if you stand up or however you want, so you get Stephanie and Sally. I know. Okay, well, hand the phone to them. That works. Yeah.
Sally, you're not that tall.
No. All right, once again, thank you, Kelly. Thank you. And along that lines, and I have to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you to our transportation department this year. Because you ain't got to know anything about athletics, you should see me with transportation, all right? But with that, the transportation department has worked tirelessly in helping a new superintendent understand its regulations, its expectations, its procedures. And another transportation employee we want to recognize tonight is Kelsey Lane. Kelsey not only is an excellent driver, but you talk about someone who's willing to go the extra mile. Someone who's willing to help anyone, anytime, whether it's parent, student, staff member, superintendent, whoever needs help. She is a true team player. She's embraced so many additional responsibilities, formally and informally. And in the transition time, when we were without a transportation coordinator director, she really stepped up and took on some administrative tasks and helped me figure out how to print some things in routing so I wasn't driving the bus drivers crazy with 15 different sheets that they did not need. She has adaptability and really has thrown herself into not only learning our systems, but making suggestions on ways to make it better. So I want to take a moment to say thank you to not only our whole transportation department, but also to Kelly and to Kelsey for being the very best that a Phoenix family member can be. So please welcome and congratulate Kelsey for us. You the bomb. Janet says you the bomb, you the bomb. She the bomb.
Turn around, smile with her, take a picture.
Gotta take a picture, G. Right here. All right, now.
Come on,
Yes.
girl.
This is my family first
I love it. We are your family. Okay. Hunter, get up here with us, and Denver, get up here with us.
Hunter, come on.
Back there by his side.
Okay, now Sally did not need to do the sorority, but Kelsey does.
Yeah, we want to have, can you see everybody? Board member, all, yeah, there we go, everybody's on the window, thank you. Great job.
Awesome, thank you, Kelsey.
Next, we have our district.
Wait, one more.
Sorry.
That's
district
okay.
recognition.
No.
Okay.
So, one more. In this, speaking in the terms of Miss Janet as being the bomb, we have a student who not only showed us her perseverance, her resilience, her ability to take feedback, her ability to set a goal and work hard and overcome her whatever she put in her head that was an obstacle, whatever other opponents put in front of her as an obstacle, and made it not only to the state, but for the first time in Atchison 409 history, set the bar. But what I love most about her is the young woman, young leader, and absolute amazing human that she is. And that, to me, goes above and beyond. So please help me recognize and celebrate Octavia Burnett. Now you gotta come up here.
Bring your family in. Coaches, family.
Coaches, Dr. Williams, this does, right here. Only I get to hide behind the center. The thing is, we know this doesn't happen with countless hours of support from not only coaches, teachers, admin. So thank you. Blaine, get up here. I didn't even see you hiding back there. I would have called you out. Congratulations, Octavia.
Our next is our district recognition.
Hi.
So, I, being a new person to Atchison, have not had the pleasure yet of experiencing Juneteenth celebration, but I am looking forward to it. Mr. Ross and I have talked multiple times, other community members and I have talked about the Juneteenth celebration here, and I'm very excited to be part of it this summer. So they wanted to take a moment and just come forward and talk a little bit about our partnership over the last 20 years and kind of share, hopefully, some news about this year. So I'm going to turn it over to their committee.
She can speak.
We do the same thing here, not it.
I am Nicole Thomas, and
I was wondering if that was working. Thank you. I am Nicole Thomas, and I am the chairperson of the Atchison Juneteenth Committee. We have been going strong for 20 years, praise God. I'm only going to take a few seconds because I'm giving Shelby the floor because he loves to talk. Hey. Okay. But what I wanted to say was, personally, I do thank the USD 409 for all your support, all the love and support that you've given us over the years. We started out with Superintendent Susan Myers and love her greatly, and she's still behind us 1000%. So we just want to do a meet and greet with you guys and let y'all know how important you are to us, and hopefully we can continue that support through the years. So with that being said, I also want to tell you I am so thankful for my group, my board members and my committee members. They are so awesome. It's a struggle, as everybody knows. Can't get young people, but us older generation, we're keeping it going. Praise God for that, you know. So just want to thank them all for coming tonight. There's a few not here, but I just want you guys to know I'm so thankful for y'all and love y'all. So give the floor to Shep.
And that is not true that I don't like to talk. I like to communicate. I just want to say that I'm excited because when you think about the partnership that we've used the schools, we've used the stuff, and you guys have been amazing. We've had you guys show up at our stuff, you guys have spoken. I'm just excited to say that this is real. You know, when you think about 20 years of something that's grassroots, that you have to hustle to jump out there, because we're the only Juneteenth in this area that's totally free. We don't charge, we don't have anybody come up and do anything. We feed people. It's like a big reunion. We have all sorts of people come out, and I'm just excited to say that you guys have been an integral part of that for years. Whether it be come time to clean the chicken, we've used the schools, whether it be to have fundraisers, and I'm just being totally honest with you. I mean, it's been quite amazing. You know, and the school has been there for us the whole time. And I just went after 20 years, whoa, that's part of my age, not half, but part. And I just want to tell you that that's amazing. And with the new lady in town, we wanted to introduce you to what's real. I know Miss Hines knows about it. I know Janet knows about it, and some other folks have known about it. We've been around. And we got new renovations to our park this year, which is exciting. We've got a splash pad at LFM Park. We've got a new gazebo. We've got lights. We're gonna be ready. So, and I mean that. You know, we're gonna have a softball game on that Friday night at 8th and come out, and if you want to get a glove out, Janet knows how to play a little bit. You know, we're gonna try to get Janet out there to make that first pitch. She don't know it yet. Carrie's one of them people. You know, get them old tennis shoes out of the closet because they are still there, and put them old white pants on you had that had brown spots on them when you slid into base. Y'all still got those, so. But I just want you to know that we're trying to make it very special. So, and we want all you guys to be a part of it. So, if you haven't been, come on out. We're going to have a great speaker. We have great meals. We have vendors that come out, and then we also have church on Sunday. So, if you want to come out and have church with us, you can do that also. We've got a choir that comes. We've got amazing dancers. We've got good stuff happening, and this is a very positive part of our community. And I just want to tell you thank you again for being a part. So. June 13th and 14th, and the 12th, so it's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So all these faces, I'm taking pictures in my head, and I know that all you folks will be there, even out in the audience. And we love to have volunteers to come help us. So because these old bodies are still here and helping, you know. And I got to brag a little bit because I brought my dad out tonight. He just had a stroke 2.5 weeks ago, and he's here today. So God is good. And so, you know, I tell you, when you think about people that still show up for Juneteenth, he could have laid in as he calls the dungeon at my house where he's staying at. He could have laid down there tonight, but he rode and came out tonight. So that means a lot what the members stand for, because all these members have been around for a long time. You know, we have a lot of countless volunteer hours, making donations. I've made so much pasta salad, I don't know, they call me Mr. Pasta. I don't know if it's coming or going sometimes, but some of those kinds of things is amazing. To watch the people come through to make those ribs and that chicken and them hamburgers and hot dogs, and to watch the faces on the little kids, you know, on the trolley rides, you know, the history trolley, and to see just all that good stuff. Now we've got a splash pad. So, and I'm excited about that. I can't wait to get wet. So, but I want to tell you, all come out and get wet, have your bathing suit and shorts on, do whatever you need to do. Once you're there. So I want to tell you, as a group, let's tell them thank you. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's everybody come out so we can get a picture with everybody. Come on
We
up.
want everybody in the picture.
Even the young one, here. Come on. There you go.
Oh, yeah.
Come on.
Do we need to bend down some?
If the back row can find a window, I think we'll be all right. Kathy, you might have to come up front.
No, you're fine.
Awesome. Appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
That's one thing.
You know, 20 years to get to.
That was awesome. So we have a couple reports tonight, and I would like to start with the financial update with Lori and Dimron. After that positive, ooh, that was awesome.
This is exciting too,
It is.
Sarah.
Yeah, my nieces, woo.
Chief was so worked about that. He is a you take care of it. You know, I came in one time and have a great life.
As we talked about last month, this is our timeline going into the budget cycle, so we are just at the very beginning stages here in April. Starting to run some scenarios, some plans for what is our budget going to look like as we move into the 26-27 school year. Kind of as a refresher, we've got our 4 big buckets that we get revenue from: our general fund, our LOB, capital outlay, and bond and interest. Those are our 4 big buckets of money for our operating funds. Today, we're really going to focus on that general fund LOB piece. So we just kind of wanted to review where our money is coming in from our taxpayers. Again, the general fund, you can see on the screen here kind of what is paid out of that. 80 to 85% of that is our salaries. So a big chunk of our district budget goes to people. And then our LOB, basically just an extension of the general fund. The only thing that doesn't come out of there is our utilities and property and casualty insurance. So this slide hopefully looks a little familiar. Enrollment trends at the state. So as you can see, the state is trending a decrease in enrollment. We're hitting what's called the birth dearth. So birth rates are dropping across the country. Kansas alone graduated 5,000 more seniors last year than kindergartners enrolled this year. So across the entire state. We are starting to see a decline of about 100, 103 students for this year. We're going to continue some decline going into next year. Something that's kind of unique to our district, though, is even though our enrollment has dropped, state aid has gone up for people, and our weightings has gone up. So our budget has really remained flat the last 2 or 3 years. So we're kind of lucky in there that we have a flat budget. But with that, what do you guys see on this PowerPoint slide? What do you think this is telling us as a board?
No help from the go.
Right?
We have a cheat sheet.
So, thoughts on what it might be? No right or wrong answers. Just curious.
Just the taller one, the attendance numbers.
Could be. What other thoughts? So Doug is kind of right on track there. That taller one is our student FT, or full-time equivalency, over the last few years. So you can see our student enrollment dropping. But that littler graph there, that's our, exactly, we're staying flat with our teachers, so our budget is staying the same. Students are going down, costs are going up. Starting to draw that picture of as our students keep dropping, we're gonna be in a budget issue. About every 10 students we lose equates to $65,000, which is the average cost of a teacher here at Atchison. So you see that number dropping, and we're remaining flat. As you look forward, you can see over the last 7 years, our certified FTE or full-time equivalency into our student FTE. Now this is not class size, this is overall. So this includes your music teachers, your specialist teachers, your special education teachers, that we have gone from about 11.5 students per certified staff member to a little over 10 in the last 7 years. So enrollment's dropping, but we're keeping our staffing the same, even though the state average is between 13 and 15. The reason we wanted to bring that to your attention is that leads to the choices that we're going to have to start looking at as we move forward into the rest of this year, next year, and future years. As our enrollment drops, we've got to make those choices of where's our priorities as we look at budget planning.
Did you have a question there?
Yeah, isn't that weighting though increasing our aid for like special ed and for some of the career path programs and those kind of things?
It does, but today we're strictly talking general fund and LOE. So there are some weightings for those other supplemental funds, but at the end of the day, if we're short in those other supplemental funds, that funding is coming from the general fund.
But doesn't that also affect our headcount to FTE? So if we have more special ed teachers that have to help the kids that need assistance, that's going to change. We're not necessarily going to be in the 13 to 15.
Correct.
Well, no, your state target recommendation is 13 to 15. That's a recommendation.
But we're also much higher spend.
We're about normal with SPED. We're right at 29%-ish, about a third. State is 18, but in there. But for our demographics, I should say. In there, our enrollment is here, our weightings is here. That discrepancy, which is I think maybe what you're trying to get at, that discrepancy comes with a lot of issues with it, that you do have to have support personnel, extra resources for, right? In there, some of it, the weighting is for things like CTE, right? That would come in through your Perkins grant, things like that. Some of that weightings come in through at-risk. That would come in through that money. Some of that weighting would come in through transportation for kids who are 2.5 miles away from their home school. There's all different things that go into those weightings in there, but when we come through looking at that, the issue is not necessarily SPED, because SPED's a totally different formula. But in there, that discrepancy is getting bigger and bigger, right? And those needs are getting bigger and bigger in there. And what's happening is, as Dimmer mentioned, costs are going up, enrollment's going down in there, and this is getting further and further apart. So the question that we're beginning to wrestle with and want you to wrestle with us is what choices need to be made in there to make those lines, because they're not going to come back. The lines are going to be separated. All right? That's the way it is. But what choices do we need to make that makes this line have every advantage known to man, that when they walk across that stage at graduation, that they are ready to be enlisted or employed or enrolled in a post-secondary without the need for remediation, right? And that starts from our littlest, from partnerships for birth to age 5, all the way to our partnerships with Highland, Baker, whatever, in there. So that part of it is kind of that overview. And tonight, Lori and Dimmer are looking at the one bucket of general fund and LOB, and really focusing on that. Because there's a whole lot of other little buckets that go into it, but just that general.
Oh.
Yeah.
So what we've done is started looking at some projections of things that we know are going to go up. We know that we've already moved $650,000 from our general fund to capital outlay to balance this year's budget. In a perfect world, we want to keep all of that expense in the general fund. So as we're planning for next year, we need to make sure we have that bandwidth in our general fund so we hopefully don't have to move that money again. We also know utilities are going to go up, projected at about $75,000. Our property and casualty, basically our homeowners insurance for the district, is going to go up, projected at $50,000. Insurance for our staff. We just got some early preliminary numbers from our insurance broker. We're looking at about a 20% increase. We have more meetings with them later this week, so as we know more, we will share more. That's
I've not agreed to that yet. Can I
That's
just say that?
preliminary.
I was gonna
We
say.
have not agreed to that. I
Preliminary.
see the frustration. Let me just say right now, we have not
Yeah.
agreed to that.
Yes. And that's about $375,000. But then you'll notice on this slide, we don't have anything projected for salaries yet. So we've got to get through all the stuff we know is going to happen to figure out what's our wiggle room. So without looking at any salary increase, we're at $1.1 million that we've got to kind of look at. But we've already started investigating that. Felicia and the curriculum team has done a great job of looking at our resources, our subscriptions, our contracted services, and we're able to reduce that going into next week by freezing some pieces and frosting some pieces so that we can hold that. Now you might be thinking, $50,000, that's not that much. What about all the things that we have? That is, again, just within the general fund. A lot of our professional development services have come out of other federal funds or other state programs, not related to the general fund. So there is a larger reduction, but not within the general fund.
So let's talk just a minute, so make sure at that point. When we free up that money out of title, all right? So we have a huge contract to do professional development with the company, and we don't renew that contract. That money that's with title funds means that I could perhaps move someone's salary into title funds that then would free up general, okay? So just because you may not see it captured on there doesn't mean that it's not being looked at, okay?
Then we get into our different labor buckets: administrative, certified, classified. As resignations, retirements, and things are coming in, every position is being evaluated to determine, are we going to frost it, meaning temporarily hold it? We might not fill it right away, but we're kind of waiting to see, or is it going to be frozen? Right now, we have not frozen any positions. Everything's kind of been frosted. We're waiting to see what that looks like. Of that 412,000, that is all natural attrition. So that's people who are retiring, which we will celebrate at the end of the year. People who are moving to other districts for different opportunities. There are some pieces in there related to licensure, but no one has lost a position with the district. That's all natural. So
Anyone that wants a job that is in good standing with the district has a job. Any teacher that wants to continue working here, that has a license and is in good standing with the district, has a teaching job.
but you might also be questioning, why is there nothing in administrative or classified? Classified, majority of our classified staff are paid out of those other funds, your special education aides, your title aides. So again, we're just talking general fund right now. Those positions, including food service, are being evaluated too as staff resigns. Even though you don't see it here, we are still looking at from the big picture of the full budget. Lori and I intend to bring this spreadsheet back to you guys every month as we start getting more and more information. So you might start seeing some numbers in there as we start being able to allocate, hey, we can move X's salary from the general fund to title. So that's gonna free up some money here. So even though you see dollars in that staffing section, that doesn't mean that's because somebody exited the district. It could be we were able to reallocate their salary to another fund. Same thing with administration. If we get a resignation from any of our administrators or they decide to retire, we're gonna evaluate that on a case-by-case basis as well. So already to date, 462,000, so we're still short about $650,000 or $680,000. Salaries the big part, that's 80% of our budget. Anywhere from $135,000 to $500,000. That's a 1 to 3% increase across the board. Again, we are 409, so if we do a percentage for the teachers, we're gonna do an equal percentage for the rest of our staff as well. And so that's one of the pieces Lori and I are working really hard on is, what does that bubble look like as we start negotiations this week,
That
as
would
we
be
work
our
through everything?
recommendation for classified staff, so.
Sure. So just know, this is a living, breathing, this is not end all be all, it could change tomorrow. But every month we plan on bringing this back to you so you can kind of see where we're at as we move through this process.
And as we continue to go through the year, the 650,000 is not a hard set number yet either. So that may also fluctuate as we get towards the end of the year. That's just what we estimate at this time based on the numbers we have.
So, what choices do we have to start bringing that number back in balance? So I'm gonna turn that over to Lori.
Okay. So we're looking at our balanced budget, our little tripod that we always have, and we've deep dug into our cash balance. So we're kind of teetering that way already. We're looking into cutting expenses. So what does that leave us with? The mill levy, the taxpayers. So I wanted to go back and see what our history was. And I went back to 1920 and our overall combined mill levy, and that's our general fund, which is statutorily 20 mills requirement. LOB, which is a percentage of the general fund. Capital outlay, we are authorized up to 5 mills. We have the authority to that. The state, or we can go to 8 mills with petition, but we have not done that. And then we have bond and interest. So like I said, back in 9-10 was at 54.3. I went back as far as 09-10 and it was at almost 60. So we have significantly drawn down, decreased our mills steadily since that time frame. 23-24 was a unique year, and it was the LOB seems to be our fluctuator. You would think it would be bond and interest, but we did a really good job of making sure that stayed stagnant and prepared for that, so it would not fluctuate our mills. So it's LOB is mainly the thing that is fluctuating the overall mill levy. So we had this one done at 53.533 when we set the budget in August. And I think it came in at a little bit higher than that based on final numbers, but 1/10 of a point you're talking. Okay. So I wanted to look at, if you go to the next slide, please. What would have happened if when we set this budget, we went to full authority in all of our funds? What would that look like for our taxpayers and for our budget? I'll look at LOB first. The max we could have went to is 15.6. We did 14.9. The difference would be 0.65 mils. That would have generated about 155,000. That only half of that would have been from our local taxpayers. We get state aid in our LOB. So 50% would have came from our taxpayers, 50% would have come from state aid. Okay. Same thing with capital outlay. Our max authority is 5 mils, which we have consistently done for many years. The year before that, this last year, we went to 4.6. But in the prior years to that, it had always been 5 mils or very close to it. So if we would have went up to the full 5 mils, it would have been 1.4 mils, or about $254,000. We are one of the school districts that also gets state aid and capital outlay. It's only 33%, so 67% of that total amount would have been funded by the taxpayers, our local taxpayers. So if we would have done, the max we could have increased our mills this year was 2 mils, a little over 2 mils. We would have generated $409,000. And of that amount, 160,000 would have come from the state. I'm not saying this is what we need to do. I'm just wanting to give you choices and to look at what it would have done for us. And so we can look at going into next year, what our options could be. Do you have any questions about how the mill was generated, our history? Yeah, this is just something we want you to mull over and have in the back of your mind as we keep going through the budget process, and we'll have a budget. We'll update this each month, obviously. And then in June, July, we'll have our budget workshop and dig deep into the numbers.
At the end of July, early August, that's when we start coming to you with recommendations
Right.
for revenue, for what we want, mill rates and things like that. So that you as the board can make that decision to help us support the budget process and work through the next steps in those choices. One piece I do want to point out there is that capital outlay, that $254,000 over the last to maintain our facilities and equipment that we need for our facilities. That if we continue to move salary dollars into capital outlay, that's less we're taking away from that. So that's why we've both worked
Yes.
really hard to try and work the general fund budget to keep as much labor there as we can, so we can continue to maintain our facilities. So as a choice, that's something we can decide to present options for you, and you make that choice of where you want the salary to go. But just know, salaries compound, so that once we move it, it's hard to get that down.
And that reminds me, the 3.598 mils that we currently have right now in there, that is generating about 650,000, which ironically is the same amount that we're moving from general fund to capital outlay. So we're going to remain stagnant, and it's going to limit what we do to our buildings right now with capital outlay, where we'll continue to eat away that cash balance. So I just wanted to point that out as well.
Questions, thoughts, concerns from Lori as we continue through this budget process, or any information wants to bring back for future meetings? Clear smile.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it's going to be an ongoing now through the end of the year. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah. Thank you, Lori.
Next, we have a KISA overview with Felicia Yoakum. Welcome.
Well, I'm so excited to get to go after all of the numbers. It's just so lovely. I do come bearing really great news for our entire system, and that in February, when we did go to our school improvement day, we were able to meet our KISA team with the representatives from KSDE. We got our official notice in March, and now I come to you to say that we are fully accredited again for the next cycle. So, really great work from our team, from our whole system, and I'm really excited about the work that we're getting to do as we kind of establish this team, reestablish it a little bit with Laura and I being new, and the work that we're getting ready to start doing. So I wanted to share just a little bit of the feedback. We did meet all of the criteria. Oops, sorry, I'm running two things at once. We did meet all of the criteria for Standard 2 and Standard 3 within the KISA rubrics, and as well as Standard 4. We had really great feedback from our team, from KSDE, that evaluated us and kind of gave us a little bit of insight into some things we need to carry with us into our next cycle. So as we prepare to do that, we've been actively getting staff feedback in multiple different ways. So we've had a staff survey. We talked again about KISA and got some feedback in small groups as well as individually when we were able to have our professional development day last week. And we're able to kind of come together as an entire KISA team last week as well in order to look at all of that feedback and kind of start narrowing down where we would like to head. So within KISA, we need to choose a fundamental or two and at least 1 to 2 structures. So at the end of all of it, however you combine that, you need to have 2 goals. So you can choose 1 fundamental and 2 structures, or 2 fundamentals and a structure for each of those fundamentals. So no matter how you slice the pie, you're getting 2 pieces. So it's been very clear by all of the feedback we received and the data that our team has looked at. So we've looked at student data, ACT data, staff feedback, all of those different pieces of the puzzle. And quality instruction is really the fundamental that we are looking at heading to next. Again, looking at all of that feedback has kind of given us that picture. So within quality instruction, the things that have come up are professional learning as one of our structures. So that means lots of different things to everybody. So really looking at the comments within the feedback and then talking about dissecting what that really means together as a KISA team. We've been working really hard to define that, and we've come up with this draft goal. So we're going to implement the personalized professional learning. We're going to focus on quality instruction within that, so encouraging staff to look at personalized learning that is going to have an impact on their quality of instruction. And we're going to use the personalized PD day that we've already kind of talked to A&EA about, working at implementing that next year, and then continuing that process. So that hopefully we'll get feedback from the first day. We've broken down some checkpoints and some goals along the way, so that way we can make any adjustments after the first one is completed to kind of continue to tailor and develop that and then monitor the progress along the way. So really hearing staff that they want professional learning, but they want professional learning that they get to have a little bit more voice and choice in order to make sure that we're meeting the needs for their content area or their specialty, or where they personally feel like they need to really enhance their instruction. So not doing kind of a one for all, but a little bit more individualized. So that's our first one. So within this one goal, our 6 month is which we'll have a checkpoint, a check-in with our KSDE representative. So we're basically going to focus that on the first individualized professional development day. So some of the processes that we've already started to create, the surveys, the application, the documentation, all of that work that we're already doing fits into this. So what the state is really trying to align, and what we're trying as a leadership team at the district level to really do, is to make sure that everything that we do serves a very distinct purpose, but instead of trying to do 12 different things, we're trying to streamline the things that we're doing so we do them very intentionally, but also very successfully. That way, when we also look at things like the budget, we're getting more bang for a buck as well in that area. So really trying to do smarter, not harder, as my dad would always say. So that way we don't feel so overwhelmed as a system with having to track 15 different things. The things that we're doing can check multiple boxes and have more meaning. And then our next structure is going to be resource allocation. So sticking with that fundamental of quality instruction, but now we're going to get into the resource allocation part of instruction. So what we're going to do within this goal is some of the work that has already started or begun, but we're going to do that at a deeper level and more intentionally across the whole system in a very systematic way. Is we're going to be looking at and evaluating every resource that we have. What high quality materials do we have to support our teachers to deliver instruction that's most appropriate for our students? What effect is that material having? Does it meet the requirements for at-risk funding? Does it meet the requirements for high quality instructional materials at the state level, at the federal level? Also, is it aligned to the most up-to-date standards to make sure that we are adequately providing the most appropriate public education for our students? So really getting a deep dive into that. And again, really streamlining those resources. Instead of doing 15 million things, let's do 15 and do them really, really well. And so that way when the teaching and learning department is coming asking for an adoption, we'll have all of the evidence that this is why we need to do something, because we've gone through this process, and then we'll go through another process if and when we get to an adoption cycle. So again, things that we're already doing, we're going to get credit for them in multiple ways, and they're going to benefit, both of these goals are going to benefit the entire system. So. And we have 6 month and 1 year targets aligned with that as well. Questions about any of those?
This is just mainly for your information to make sure you're aware of the work that the district's doing for accreditation. This will be posted on our website as well. On that Felicia will make sure that in your Wednesday updates you get a full copy of the feedback from the state so you can see it. But the staff, and Felicia and I said multiple times during the day, we have zero to do with it, and we're not here. The staff represented the district very well, and the state was very complimentary of the CUSA DLT and the work that's been done.
Absolutely. And so the next step is for us to finalize the application within KSDE authenticated application within the KISA section. We'll submit that, and then we will either get feedback from KSDE on things maybe we forgot or missed or we need to make more robust within our goal or within our targets, or they'll approve it. So as soon as final approval has been reached for our plan by KSDE, I will notify you through Laura. We have to have it approved. We have to have our first draft at least submitted by April 20th. So we get 60 days after our school improvement day. So we're on time ahead of schedule. Okay, thank you. Yes, ma'am.
All right, state legislation, now the fun begins.
Yeah. So, as you know, the government has been extremely busy over the last several months, and the governor's been busy signing and vetoing and back and forth and House overrides. But tonight, I want us to talk about House Bill 2299, which is known as the cell phone ban bill. As you know, we had a cell phone task force that worked last year, maybe the year before, in gathering, and our district policy has it through K-8. If there are cell phones, they must be stored away and not used at all, bell to bell. 912, only used in passing periods and at lunch. Now, please know, I understand we have real life human kids in our high school, and yes, there are times that they get caught, but teachers as well as students, you know, we work on it all the time. However, with this new legislation, it changes the ante a little bit, so I want us to talk about what we know so far. What is not known right now is what is called legislative intent. What is the legislative intent of this law? All right? I don't think any educator will disagree with the intent or the benefit of this. However, the management and operational part of this, we need to make sure that we understand fully, because the liability, this is personal property. This is not provided by the school. There's a lot of nuances of this unfunded mandate that can come into this. So on this, on March 19th, the governor signed it into law, saying it would be fully implemented by October 1st. Our goal is to have it ready to rock and roll, ready to fully implement by the first day of school. That way, we will work out any kinks and oh my's and we didn't think abouts and all that, and have that rectified by October 1st. It's requires students to store personal electronic devices in what are called inaccessible locations during school hours. And in there, that inaccessible is the part that's going to be the sticky widget, so to speak, in there. What does that mean? And in there, the guidance so far has been everything from they may not have access to wherever that is, from the bell to bell, to no, it just needs to be stored and put away. And no one is giving clear guidance that's in a position of power on that to districts. So, smartwatches. Can students wear them or not? The glasses, you know, all those things. Devices to be turned off and stored away. Cannot be used until the final bell. This does not count for games. It does not count for dances. Doesn't count for school activities after in there. Students must still have a way to contact parents. We talked today in our admin meeting. This adds a new wrinkle because kids come and say, I need to contact my mom. I need to call my mom. I need to talk to my mom. Well, so many times it'd be okay, just text her real quick, you know? We don't have it where they can contact their parents through Google, nor would I recommend we open that back up. But in there, then we have an issue where phone calls on there, and it becomes a disruptive teaching pattern, a disruptive operation pattern in the front office. So we've got some logistics to figure out between now and the beginning of school. And then provides, of course, exceptions in IEPs, 504, medical situations. No one is trying to deny a student with a medical need or a necessary need. If their glucose or anything is being monitored with their phone, no one is trying to deny that. What is trying to be made clear, the legislative intent, I believe, of this House bill is that we need kids focused on learning when they're at school. They can be focused on their phones when they're out of school, in there. One little caveat that hasn't been talked a lot about this is school personnel cannot communicate with students on any social media. That's Remind 101. That is Class Dojo. That is the Band app. That are all these different apps that people are using quite successfully and quite appropriately to communicate. So we have Tyler and Donna Knoll working to create a recommendation that'll come before the board for a district-wide communication piece. Because yes, our coaches and our sponsors have to talk to our kids. Yes, they have to. And the thing is, it has to be managed. So what that looks like is whatever we do, whether it's a school messenger, whether it's through Aptigee, there's several companies. And I will tell you, the companies are loving Kansas right now. I cannot tell you how many emails I'm getting of everything from devices to programs so that this can reach it. So it has to be where if there's ever a concern, I can immediately log in and see that the track, the football, the baseball, the theater, the adrenaline, the whatever groups sponsor communicate through this only device. And that's where it's gonna be a learning curve, but we're gonna have to be really committed to it because it is the law. It's no longer a recommendation. It's no longer, we really would like you to. It is the law, all right? So here's what we know currently. We already have a policy. We are going to take our current policy and strengthen it. There'll be more, obviously, a reactive piece added to it that will become more strict with discipline, not only for the students, but because it's a law, it will become for staff. If staff are actively ignoring, because sometimes, it happens. Right now, sometimes on some days, maybe we're not supposed to use the phone in class, but it's the last 7 minutes, they've been great. They're not disturbing. I was done with my lesson. Maybe they're using the phone for a minute. I know they are, they're not disrupting. That kind of thing, can't be allowed anymore. And so from there, we're just gonna have to be upfront about it. Excuse me. During class, staff will be expected to model cell phone free behavior. During class, admin will be expected. And I gave the example. If you've got a kid that's totally out of compliance, totally dysregulated, and you are using your phone to call Sally's mom and say, Ms. Berger, I really need you to come visit with me for a moment, please. Sally is needing some intervention at the moment. That is one thing. But if a staff member is in their room during their planned period, a staff member is having their lunch in another teacher's classroom, staff members in their PLC, absolutely, they can be on their cell phone as far as I'm concerned. But during instructional time, it will be the expectation the staff member models cell-free behavior, okay? Which 99.9% of them, all right, in there. So I told you Tyler and Donna are exploring managed programs that meet this House bill's expectation for communication with there. And right now, the guidance we've gotten from KSDE, from KASB, and from USA Kansas, so the Kansas Association of School Board, Kansas State Department of Education, and United School Administrators of Kansas has been wait, because they know schools are going, trying to get caught up to the law. And so they're saying, start talking about it, make sure people are aware of it. But we were going to come this summer with direct guidance on putting things in place. So wanted to make sure you were tracking it, you were aware of it. Also needed staff, somewhat talking about it and aware of it because it's coming. And then open up for questions or thoughts or just general ideas.
I have a question. With this, does this include like earbuds? Does it include the big cell phone? I mean, not cell phones, headphones, everything? Okay.
Any personal electronic device.
I would say that I think we need to probably start moving ahead, because one thing that's probably not going to change by October is the language in this. And I think we have to follow, even though it's pretty draconian, I think we have to stick with the language. And it says, store the communication devices away from the student's person and in an inaccessible location during the day. So I think that almost by its nature is like a separate one of those lockers or the zip bags or something like that. So it seems like we're going to probably have to go that way. unless the law has changed between now and then. I think we have to kind of look at that. And yeah, it does include earbuds and watches and every other kind of thing. So again, I think we need to err on the side of if it's an electronic communication device, they need to not have it.
My concern, and I'll just speak very candidly, and I'm sure KSB is going to put some things out about it because every superintendent has had, this has come out in every listserv, everything. So there, you are talking, the middle school has, 450 kids, high school, that's 487, whatever. In there, to get that space, so do we store them in their first hour? As a classroom teacher, I would not want to be liable for those personal cell phones in my classroom. Then I'm leaving to go to the orthodontist, I need my phone, so I've got to stop. Okay, I need to go, I'm coming in late because I had a dentist appointment, so I need to put my phone up. And that's my logistics part that I don't have in my head. Or do we take an empty classroom and we put all these lockers or whatever in this empty classroom that stays locked? And then what if someone breaks into it? I'm just saying financially liability, because if we hold that phone and something happens to it, we're liable for it. Even if we put in there, you cannot have it on campus, bring at your own risk. If something happens on that and they chose to take it that far, that's just my concerns. I'm not saying I'm right on that. I'm just saying on that.
I mean, if people are going to get wind, kids are leaving in their cars. And now we're going to have to supervise and really watch the parking lots. In the language in that, we have the law. Did it say inaccessible and secure?
Stored away, if I remember.
It's securely stored away, yes.
Because several I know of the large districts, when they were fighting with the legislators, they were talking about the fact not only the inaccessible, but the secure. And that's what they were saying. This is going to be a mountain, and the logistics are going to be a nightmare. And they're estimating, $1 million being spent into trying to get the schools to be.
Yeah, and now it does exempt the schools from liability for phones disappearing and that kind of thing, which is probably helpful, but I think this actually kind of ties into a need for a larger kind of security anyway. I think our schools need to go to a single in and out location for students. I think having multiple doors in multiple buildings is an unsafe situation. It also creates ability for kids to slip out unnoticed and that kind of thing. I think we need to start kind of looking towards, let's have 1 point in, 1 point out, and alarm the other doors so that unless there's a fire or something, there's no reason for kids to be going out of the other doors during the day. I know that creates parking lot issues and that kind of thing, but I think from a safety standpoint, it's something we should have been looking at already, and I think that this kind of pushes us towards that, and then you can have the phones at that same place where they're coming in and going out.
Just checking the minutes and taking
So more people to be hired to, it's gonna be crazy.
This is an unfunded mandate.
Yeah.
So let's call it what it is. I am not trying to get out of the expectations of the law. I mean, you see on here. What I would ask the board for grace to do is allow KSB and KSDE to give us some guidance.
Yes.
Then I'd like to come back, and like I said, we already started talking about it with admin today, and I don't want this on teachers' backs. I think they got enough on their backs to me to add this on it, but I also don't need it on my front office staff secretary's backs either on it. So with that, let us get some things coming in, and then whether we come back with a plan if we feel like we have one. If not, let's set up a work session and bring all interested parties together. Let's have some teacher voice. Let's have some classified voice. Let's have some admin voice. Let's have some, all of it in there, just like you did with the task force. And because this is going to be, I don't care how small your district is or how big your district is. And I'm very thankful I am not at Wichita or Topeka or one of those massive ones that we're talking thousands upon thousands of figuring this out on it. But if the board is agreeable, I'd like to pause and just keep researching and keep thinking and listening. and then bringing it back. And I will keep you updated in the Wednesday updates.
I would say, I think just because of the timeliness of trying to get something started by school year, that we need to at least have some foundational recommendations probably in place for next meeting to discuss.
Regardless what KSB does?
I think regarding them, I don't think the statutes
I think you
change.
wait.
So-
It's one of those deals where, yes, they're saying we have to do it, but all these big districts are gonna be dragging their feet.
Yeah.
And so I think if we watch kind of what they're doing too and get an idea. I know what you're saying, but I just think at this point in time, it's one of those, let's don't jump on that bandwagon as quickly as we need to.
I will do whatever the board as a whole wants me to do.
I think we need to slow our roll. Let's just wait and see what KSB and KSB.
That doesn't mean we're not looking.
We're not, right. We're looking at it, but we need to get advice from them because,
And I mean, could we even like go ahead and start with that task force, like just getting like interested parties, putting feelers out, like who would like to come and work with us on it when we get that recommendation?
Be ready to go.
Like start that groundwork at least.
Yes, so with that, just because I don't want to put words in your mouth, are we recommending a board-appointed committee? Are you recommending a superintendent directed committee? Are you recommending volunteers?
I think volunteers.
Okay.
Anybody that's interested, particularly teachers and parents.
Sure.
Yeah, the people who will be
Yeah.
doing all the
Parents,
work with
students.
it, yeah.
Okay, we will work on getting that out, and I will come back to you. Give me a couple of weeks, but within a Wednesday board update, I will give you that here's what I'm sending out to staff. Here's who has responded on there. I will need it to be a manageable number, but one thing will do is send out the message to everyone afterwards, and here are the people involved. Please let's share your ideas and all that. So.
I think this does need to remain an agenda item on all the meetings coming forward until we solve it.
Okay, so as a report, okay. Okay.
give and take, I like it. We have public comments.
All right, so I just want to remind staff, 2 Cent Tuesday is tomorrow afternoon. And for those of you that join, I just want to give you a heads up that my instructional coach will be here tomorrow. His name's Dr. Stussman. So he's here watching me, not you. So feel free to come and put me through my paces with that because he has to do a formal observation of me. So he's coming to do that piece of it. It'll be here 3:30 to 5. And then the following Tuesday is community 2 Cent Tuesday, and that'll be 4:30 to 6. So hope to see people there. If not, I'll sit here and work. So.
Okay. Next is our public comments. Did you have the public comment list?
No, consent.
Oh, no public comments. Okay, well, we'll move on. We're gonna, I entertain a motion for the approval of the consent agenda as presented.
Madam Chair, I have a move to remove the KASB contract from the consent agenda to further discuss individually overlapping expenditures before we approve a contract.
And that is
7.7.
7.7. Okay. So I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda minus 7.7 because we will bring it back and talk about it as presented. Thank you for the second. Thank you so much. Any discussion on that? Seeing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. Thank you so much. It does pass unanimously. And we are going to go, do we add that now?
Yes, now.
Okay, 7.7. Okay.
This becomes an action
Action
item.
item.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. When we're looking at our budget, as we have done, and we said we'd like to eliminate things that are doubled over, that we possibly have expenditures that overlap. Well, we have KASB, which has a legal department, and they're very well versed in the law, in ed law. We also have a retainer for a private attorneys, which is an overlapping that shouldn't be necessary. So I feel like we've got to pick one or the other, because we're spending $16,000 on KSB, $6,000 plus on the private. If the only reason we would need, I would go with my suggestion with KSB, because they have the whole package. They are trained in ed law, and I think Doug can tell you, not all attorneys are ed law people. And they're on call for us.
Right.
So I would say that would be the way to go. The only time you would really need an outside attorney is if something criminal, God forbid, happened.
Or special education.
Right, and I would suggest at that point, it might be better to have somebody not in the community where you don't get the social connection with the people who we are, if there's an issue. So,
How much utilization did we have of the local firm in the past couple of years?
I'd say that the last 5 years, we had to use them.
We used them quite a bit, but they were
I know
negotiators.
there's, well, outside
Yeah.
of negotiation, I
Yeah.
wanted to talk about
There
that.
were some issues with teachers, you know, when you non-renew.
KSB
There were
can do that
kids,
for
right.
us.
Huh.
KSB can do that for us. They're on call for us. In fact, I had a friend that drove to schools because that was their job.
So they could come in
Yes, yes, they can
and
come
do
in.
it. Because I know,
There were some student issues we used them for.
They will, they can.
Yeah. One of the things, one, I need to make sure everyone knows, we're in contract with our local representatives until July 1st. Okay, so that's going to be that way until July 1st regardless. And I don't have a vote in this, you know, or an opinion. I don't have a vote in anything, but I don't have an opinion one way or the other. KSB will guide us if there is something they feel they don't need to represent us on. There are law firms in Kansas City that are known for being very strong in ed law. And in that, if, God forbid, we ever needed that, we could contract with them for it. If we ever needed, I'll just use negotiations because that came up. In negotiations, yes, if there comes a question that we don't feel confident in, I will call KSB to seek guidance, right? Exactly like I would fully expect our teachers' bargaining unit to call their bargaining organization and get guidance, right? That's just smart in there. The thing that, and this is what, you know, it's a good decision to have, and it's a good discussion to have with our current budget, because this does come out of general. Every bit of this comes out of general, is the choice of, you know, apparently this is a long-standing relationship for many, many years with this firm and the locals. I don't know. I have no idea. I think I have contacted this person twice, maybe, for things that I didn't feel confident in. But other than that, you know, that knock on wood, it could all go crazy tomorrow.
Well,
But they're on contract till July,
We did
so.
have 501 when we had 2 lawyers on board. We had Larry and Jay David. And now we have a lawyer on board, which helps for legalese, just
But,
reading.
Not for him.
No, but just.
Okay, so we said I can't rely on him
No,
because that's a
but-
conflict of interest,
But
right?
for them to know, we have not sure about language. They had that advantage, and
Right.
now we have that advantage.
So, and not that I doubt his ability at all,
Right.
but
Oh,
but
that would be.
they're very clear in
Yeah.
in my classes when I was going that, you know, what you can do and what you can't do. So,
Well, based on our trying to be financially
I agree with
responsible,
KASB.
I would move that we go with KASB contract, we accept that, and then when our other contract is over, we do not renew.
never had to be, because ever since I've been on the board, we've had them, I mean, they've been our.
So
That didn't start till
So in the July reorg meeting, what we'll do is under legal assistance, we'll just list KASB.
Yeah.
Is that the will of the board?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, it is an action item, so you still have to,
Because we have to
Let's
accept contract.
have us,
I would move that we accept the contract for KASB representation and join the KASB Association.
second. Yes. Any discussion about that? And then in July, we'll do the other.
it's just gonna roll, it's just,
Yeah, roll on. Anything? Okay. All in favor, raise your right hand. Thank you so much. That does pass unanimously. Next up then would be transportation.
yeah?
Our, and I'm gonna have Dave and Hunter.
Hunter and Dimron.
Hunter and Dimron, okay.
You guys will be again, are you excited?
Yeah, I love it.
It's the Dimron show tonight,
It is.
apparently.
So, first I want to introduce Hunter. He's formally been introduced to the board.
Hey,
He's
Hunter.
transportation coordinator by us in February, so we're very excited. Hunter and I are here today to talk a little bit of transportation, kind of where it's been over the last year. There's been a lot of changes in transition and some recommendations that we have for some software that will help us become even more effective and efficient. So, gets 2 points within our strategic plan, our communication, as well as our community partnerships. But to jump in, where have we been? What are we doing now? I started in January, and we had a sudden retirement of our previous transportation coordinator. We had also kind of restructured the transportation department in the last year and downsized the director. So lots of change in that leadership role. Laura, Dave, and I all learned as we were muddling through transportation the month of January, February before Hunter joined us. There's a lot going on. And it's a very manual process. There's a lot of communication that goes on with parents. There's a lot of systems to manage that are very clunky and do not work as effectively as we would like. Having worked in other districts with different transportation software, our easy routing is not my most favorite system I've ever worked with. Lots of challenges keeping track of our bus routes, where our kids are, making sure that we're staying up to date as bus stops are changing and kids pick up and drop off are changing as this week they're with mom, next week they're with dad, and keeping all that up to date and keeping our bus drivers informed and our schools. Lots of shuttles, trips, and activity runs that are all managed in a whole separate system, even on spreadsheets and then printing out special forms. Lots of wasted time. So when Hunter joined us, Dave, Hunter, and I kind of were looking at how can we make that better. So we started with where are we at now? We talked about the easy routing that we currently use. It's cost us about $4,000. And all it does is basically tell us what stops kids are at. It doesn't automatically route the kids. It doesn't update automatically as kids move. It's very, what you told me today, 45 minutes to get one child put in and onto a bus stop is about what it takes with the system through about 60 different clicks and screens. Very ineffective. On top of that, it doesn't track all the data that we need for our state and federal reports. So we have spreadsheets upon spreadsheets upon spreadsheets and notebooks and papers, and every month probably 3 reams of paper just in reporting that we have to do for the state and federal government. We need a system to manage that. It's 2026. We should not be doing reams of paper for things. There's no GPS on our bus, so our bus drivers have to know where they're going, or they're using their cell phones and pulling up Google Maps. And today's age is actually integrated. It's integrated in the front of my car. Why can't we get that on our buses?
Well, I will tell you, we had a scary situation where we had a bus driver who had a pay per minutes type cell phone and was on a field trip, and because of construction got rerouted, and thank goodness the teacher had a cell phone and was willing to share and pulled up because that bus driver had no idea, and we couldn't say where they were because we didn't know where they were. There was no GPS. There was no way to track where the bus was.
Right. So it's kind of scary. It creates a concern for where are our kids, where are our staff, what's going on, especially with the storms we have in this area. What a storm over where that bus was. So that got all of us, once Hunter was on board talking through, we've got to find a solution. And so we worked together to put together this list of topics of what are the key points that we need to look at as we go out to explore what software is out there, what resources are out there so that we can strengthen our transportation department. Our number one was enhancing safety. We have got to know where our kids are in real time. We wanted some sort of system where we could log in and go, Cameron got on at the elementary school at 3:02, and he got off at the stop at ACCA at 3:15. And now when mom calls and says, "Where's Cameron?" we could tell line by line where he was at. We wanted to be able to look at cameras cloud-based. Our current camera system, you have to go to the bus, pull the entire hard drive out of the bus, go to this very old computer that is very slow, plug the hard drive in, wait for about 45 minutes for it to download, sometimes 2 or 3 hours, depending on how much bus load you need, to then turn around and re-upload it to another system so that our bus coordinator can look at it, our administrators can look at it to figure out what's really going on. Tons of waste of time. We wanted something kind of like my Ring doorbell. I can pull it up wherever I'm at and see who's at my front door. We still would do that in today's day and age with our buses. Fully integrated digital system. So it talks to PowerSchool. It talks to the administrators so they know what's going on in real time. Automated bus routing. We can say, here's 15 kids that we need to pick up. Draw me the best route. So we're not doing the little pins on a map process. We're trying to figure that out. Onboard navigation. We want to be able to tell our bus drivers, hey, there's construction downtown Kansas City. There always is. What's the way they can get around that? User-friendly interface, not only for our administrative team, but our bus drivers and our parents and students. We wanted something our parents didn't even have access to. We wanted to increase parent communication through one tool. Right now, it's phone calls, emails, reaching out to Lindsay in communications to say, hey, we need to send something out, and we can't always target it to one bus. It's sometimes the whole district. If not everybody needs to know the bus 2 and 3 have been combined into one bus. That just gets confusing for everybody. We wanted a system that's going to live and breathe and update. I don't think the season routing system has been updated in 10 years. We want something that's going to change as technology evolves, the needs of our students, our school evolves. And then lastly, increasing parents' peace of mind as they're traveling with our students. Whether they're traveling from the elementary school home or from the high school to Nevada, Missouri for a choir conference. We need to be able to let parents know, we know where your kids are, we know they're safe. So as we look at that, that's a lot of key pieces tied around the safety of our kids and our staff and our community. So with that, Hunter, you want to tell them what systems you guys kind of looked into?
Yeah, so as we kind of got into this and kind of decided we probably needed a little update on our system, we looked around. There's not a whole lot of options out there actually when we take a look at it. But we looked at trucking and fleet vehicle services, like what they use the trucking companies to track everything. We looked through different bus systems as well. This is kind of the list of what we found that kind of fit the needs of what we were looking for in a system.
And this was reaching out to area transportation directors across the state of Kansas and Missouri. It wasn't just, hey, let's do Google transportation software. It was reaching out to that transportation network.
Yeah, we've talked to several different districts, directors, on what systems they were using. And this is kind of some of the things they recommended. So first on that list is Transportant. So with Transport, it is the only one that's pretty much a full all-in-one system. It offers the student ridership, so it has identification, kids scan on and off the bus. It can tell you real time who's on the bus, what kids you have on the bus, who goes to what stop, where they get off, and all of that. It does include the automated routing, so it is up to date all the time. It recognizes when a stop. So if we make a stop, it recognizes that street is out. It's going to reroute you to a new street. It does have the onboard navigation. It actually has a co-pilot tablet inside each bus. It's going to include navigation, turn by turn. It does have audio as well, so you don't even have to really look at the screen. It will give you turn by turn audio direction. It does have student identification, so each student will have their badge as they stay on and off the bus. It will identify the student for you, tell you what grade they're in. We have our policy right now is any child second grade or less has to have an adult there to pick them up at their stop. So this year actually changed the color of that student's name in the system, so it automatically notifies this kid or the student needs a parent or guardian there to pick them up off the bus. So it's got everything like that. It also, on the tablet itself, it has an instant reporting button. So if something happens, a bus driver or monitor have an issue, there's a fine, there's bullying going on, they can actually hit this button and pause, not pause, but it timestamps that exact moment. so we can instantly find it when we go into the real live camera and it's right there, ready to view, so we can instantly get in there and kind of view what happened. Something I actually found out in doing the research on this, it actually has the ability where we can actually communicate to the students on the bus without the bus driver having to do anything, so they can focus on driving. Say if I'm in the office and I'm watching it and I see something happen, I can actually pop in and the cameras have speakers on them and I can talk to the students and let them know, hey, I saw what you just did. Was that not Yeah, that's pretty good. So it has that, it has communication, so it has communication with our systems that we currently use with the PowerSchool system. It goes back and forth, it's not just PowerSchool loads up, but it actually will respond back to PowerSchool. Updating buses that are in, like for a student, we switch bus to 76, updated in PowerSchool so the schools can instantly see that we updated that student's bus. And then communication with parents, there's a way to actually, instead of, say, bus 72 had an issue, so all those kids are going to be on bus 74. We actually issue every parent notification that, hey, your student's going to be on bus 74, as well as the schools, and it kind of just notifies everybody that that switch has been made. And then the information database, like I said, it does share communications with our database, so we don't have to change anything. It's actually one of the recommended databases on the transport system. Other than that, so that was transport. Wireless links is our other one. So we looked at this. Wireless links turned out to just be a camera system. They don't really have any of the other features. No GPS, and that's the other thing, the GPS system, the buses will have an active GPS, so we'll know where the buses are all the time, as well as what speed the buses are going. So we'll have control over that aspect as well. But so the wireless links is just a camera system, so it doesn't really cover everything we need. We looked at BusBoss. In reviewing BusBoss, it's just a slightly upgraded version of what Easy Routing does. It's got a little more automation to it. It kind of intertwines with some like Google Maps and stuff like that a little more. Other than that, it doesn't have any added benefit besides just being a little more automated. And then Zonar. Zonar is kind of the other aspect of it. It has the student ridership. It does the onboard navigation also, and then it does also connect with our student database. So in review, what we found was transport actually covers 100% of what we were looking for. And if you compare that, the $41,000 for that one versus what it would take to meet that in like requirements would be, we would need a wireless link, so Zonar and an Easy Routing to kind of even match what all we can gain from transport there.
So what that really boils down to is having 3 systems. It's also going to cost us about $20,000 more to go with those 3 systems than it would to go with transport. The other kind of key piece to point out as we're looking at this, because we just had that fun discussion about our budget. Remember, we had $8 million left over in the bond to support roof repairs and HVAC. Because of that, that gave us the opportunity to reevaluate some of our projects that we had put on pause in the capital outlay plan, such as fencing, looking at systems to enhance transportation. So we have the dollars now in our capital outlay budget to support the purchase of this 4-year lease within what we already have because of that money that was freed up in the bond. So this is no money that we find additional on top of anything else. It's kind of already been in there. It just was originally going to be bumped a year or two. Now we're able to move it up. The other kind of advantage, Dave, myself, and Hunter have all used transport in other districts. I've actually gone through a whole implementation of the transporting system in a prior district. They are also located in Lenexa. So if we have issues or concerns or we need customer service, they're right down the road. Whereas a lot of these other companies are based hours and hours away. You're doing phone calls and Zoom calls. We have somebody on site with anything else. Questions on our work?
How do the kids scan in and out and all? So how do the buses recognize
Yeah.
that are on there?
So with this transport system, we actually have an RFID card. And what we would do is we would have each card made up of the child picture on the PowerSchool and their name and grade on the card. And we would store those on the bus. And so as the student got on, they would grab their card, and this is the bus driver sitting right there, so he can ensure, or she can ensure that every person that gets on the bus has scanned a card, and that you can verify, because on the transport tablet, it will actually pop up their picture. This is the student name, grade, and all that. And then it'll, as you go, so we go to our first stop, Sally, as she gets off the first stop, so it pops her picture up or any other student up as you get. Okay, well, just kind of explain it. So there's a little dot on each map, like every other kind of navigation thing. But there's I think it's a 50-foot radius or 100-foot radius within that dot that the bus has to be in to register that stop. And once you get there, she can then scan off. But any other time, if it's not a first stop or you're not on the stop, it actually notifies that this is the wrong stop, the student shouldn't be getting off here, and it's got a warning that pops up to the admin system, and then on the bus monitor itself, it pops up right, wrong stop. Don't let the kid off right here until we can verify that you're on the right stop. But it's not, it's an RFID scanned card.
So it's not something the kid has to control?
No, we keep it on the bus.
They basically just say, like, when you come to a building and swipe, it's the same time.
There's a little
Yeah,
scanner
they
that they
wouldn't have
scan
the
it.
card.
The card stays on the bus.
The card stays on the bus.
So it'd be, instead of having the clipboard, and then the secretaries, that'd be a lot less pressure on them.
Yes.
The nice piece too is, let's say Demerin and Hunter are best friends and we live on opposite sides of town. I want to go home with Hunter on Friday. I try to get on the bus and don't scan a card. That driver's going to catch it right away. Where sometimes if you've got a sub driver or a sub monitor, they don't know who Demerin is. Then he may be getting on the wrong stop. Now parents freaking out. Demerin is. We can catch that before they ever even leave the school to make sure, hey, it's okay for Demerin to go home with Hunter today.
We had a situation Friday evening. I got a frantic call. I'm in Yuma, Arizona. I called Chad Bilderback. He goes to the school. It's 6-something p.m. We've got a parent who's worried, frantic, because they can't find their child. Chad's going to check camera. According to Power School, when I can access, the child was there and went on their reward field trip. So child should go home, you know. So the parents said, are they asleep on the bus? Well, so call Dave. Dave's leaving his house to come back to the bus bar just on that one case to make the bus driver didn't check every seat just in case, because we're all human, right? In there. But if we had had that scanned card, I would have been able to log into the system and see that that child never scanned on. That child thought he had asked permission to go home with a friend. And walked home with a friend. And thank goodness the child was fine and safe, and we found it. But that took how many different people coordinating at a Friday night from, in all honesty, 3 different states. We had Arizona, Kansas, and Missouri working together, you know, and I would do it every time, and no one is complaining. But if I could say, man, your child was not on the bus, I would not have had to go that route. We still would have had Chad go look at the cameras. We still would have said, who are your kids' friends? Let's call them, give me their names so I can call their parents from Power School.
And chances are that kid would have never left the school because they would have not swiped. So the bus driver, even if it was a sub, would have gone, hey, who are you?
Right.
You're not on my list, and we could have stopped it.
Well, they walked, so they weren't even on the
So these are leasing the systems?
It's a 4-year subscription. So we would own the software and everything, and we would own the hardware, but it's for a 4-year plan.
We own the cameras on the bus so they don't have to sell us new stuff.
We can't use any of our current hardware now, so this would be.
But they're installing the
Yes.
stuff on it?
Yes, it would be ours to own, so if we sold a bus and got a new bus, we could do all that hardware to the new bus.
Do new buses have similar kind of systems installed? Is that something that?
No, not right now. They, some of them have the ability, like I think Zonar has I don't know if it's a contract or kind of registration with Thomas, but the buses have the ability to be switched over, but you have to pay the extra amount beside the system. They're just capable of it right out of the gate, but they don't have the actual systems or anything.
How recent is the stuff that we're currently using, like the equipment that's already on the buses?
It's a great question. We have to look into that, so I honestly don't know unless you do.
It takes an hour to 3 hours to download a 2.5-minute clip. So,
Just out of curiosity.
Yes.
The bus businesses that, when we used to lease the buses, we were part of a business. Do they have these on them? That you
For
know of?
students, for student.
I will tell you, having worked in the previous district with Easton Bus, they did not have software.
I just wondered if they had gone to that.
It is very much a manual process, and even trying to get video from them was like blinky.
I love that the buses are part of us.
Yes.
I love
Yes.
that, because then it's year 409, and if there's a discipline problem on the bus, we have jurisdiction to make decisions. And it's not always the case in contract. And so we have to be really careful about that. So I love that the buses are an extension of our school property.
And I will say, having talked with our transportation staff, some of who were part of the previous contracts, they are so happy and so excited to be back as 409 employees, not part of the contractor. I've had a few of them reach out and go, I hear these rumors that you're taking something to the board about a new bus system. I'm like, no, we're not contracting you, that's not what this is. This is to enhance the services, but we did get some calls about that, so. Other questions about kind of our options before we move forward? Our ultimate recommendation would be Transportant and the timeline that we want to look at for rolling this forward if approved tonight.
Are there other companies that do like a whole package?
Not that we could find or anybody else around us has used. This was the only one that encompassed everything. We had a couple that did use several of the other systems together, but not one that had another recommendation for anything that was a full system of transport.
So this would be called what's sole source in it. So they had to go, like when we started talking about this after the $8 million in the bond came out, and we recognized that, okay, do we want to keep deferring capital outlay, or do we want to move some of that up? In that, when we were going, like I said, you either got to go through some type of cooperative, or we need bids, or whatever, in there, could not find a compatible. So this would be considered a sole source.
And there were, like Andrew said, we looked at your trucking and fleet management outside of the K-12 arena, probably 10 or 12, most of which didn't have any piece or wouldn't even consider working with the K-12 entity. So it wasn't just this group, there was a larger piece, but as we reached out, they don't want to work with K-12 or didn't support what we needed. So if we do move forward and approve the Transportant, as recommended, this would kind of be our transition timeline. Hopefully we accept it tonight. It takes about a week for everything to process through all the contracts, agreements, and everything, POs, all that fun stuff. We would then be able to start the integration with Power School in early May, because that is the longest piece, getting all the systems talking. Then start taking out all of the old software and hardware out of the buses. Once school is over, we are not touching anything until school is done. We don't want to disrupt anything we're doing now. That would take about a week. Then in early June, we install all the software on all 17 of our buses. That'll take about a week or so as well. The company comes and does the full install for us, which is really nice. We were able to save a little bit of money because we can remove the old hardware out of there. We don't have to pull any lines. They said just leave it in the bus. It doesn't hurt anything. So it's really us pulling the old cameras and they reinstall all the new stuff once that's done. We would then be able to, in late May, start training. So as they're working to get everything installed, our administrative team can start learning how to program and work the software. We would do training May and June, be able to test the system through June and July so that when kids come back in August, we're live and ready to go, and be able to integrate it in our 26-27 student enrollment processes. As we're looking to strengthen our transportation pieces, that would be a piece of it. Thoughts, questions, concerns from us?
So as like a parent, and we're putting this system into place, what does that look like for me? Do I have an app on my phone, or am I just communicating through Power School, or?
Great question.
So it does communicate through Power School. I believe when you sign up, you're going to be able to input your phone number or email, and we'll also send notifications through that. There is a parent app, and we would want to make sure, like for the first year, probably not as much release that, because we want to ensure that our system is functioning. We don't have any hitches, but then there is an app we can get into that we actually, it allows the parents to kind of see where the buses are, you can communicate. and there's a basic compass, bus compass app that allows them to kind of see where your stops are and stuff that you can communicate through as well.
Yes.
Yes.
No, you can't get where I'm going.
Yeah, like-
But I don't want to start that till we know every
Yeah,
other
that's
piece.
everything.
Yes, because that's just gonna frustrate staff.
And in my previous, that's exactly what we did. We rolled out the app the second year. The nice piece is we're talking about all the cell phone pieces. This is a managed system managed by us. So it would meet the requirements of the cell phone as a communication piece. So we wouldn't be in violation of that new law that's going to go back in October. Since we manage that in-house, it'll be secure. Other questions? Thank you.
Madam President, I move that we approve the purchases of the transport bus system as presented in the amount of $154,222,000.
Thank you, and may I have a second, please?
Second, third, fourth.
Thank you, Jan. Yes, yes. Any discussion? I think we've heard a whole lot. Does anyone have anything they want to? All in favor, raise your right hand. Thank you. It does pass unanimously tonight. Congratulations, and Hunter, thanks for your work, and Dimron, thanks for your work on that. Tell Dave too, so thank you so much. Next up is a conversation about our unused snow days. And Rachel Crosswhite and Brad Weaver. Oh,
I didn't
no,
know- I didn't know who to put, so
Hannah?
Hannah?
Hi, Hannah.
I'm so sorry that I'm not.
No, I'm sorry.
Hello, Brad.
Yeah.
Sorry, so sorry. So we have our entire executive board up here because it's not just a Brad and I conversation. So we felt the more the merrier type thing. And Brad and I like to let others share in the conversation as well.
As we said earlier, I'm one of those people who enjoy talking.
Yes.
Okay, anyways. So in the previous rounds of negotiations, it was determined that the Board of Education would decide in the April board meeting the adjustments to the calendar regarding contingency days. ANEA has had a chance to speak with Superintendent Batson, and we appreciate the opportunity to put our input on this. So this year, we are requesting that there are 3 contingency days returned to all staff. This type of decision affects all staff in the sense, teachers, custodians, lunch staff, support staff, and more than I could probably name tumble in the face. So in the coming year, we, ANEA, will commit to creating common goals that would work with and for all stakeholders to determine a policy going forward. By our count, there is about 5 contingency days remaining. In returning 3 days to the staff, this would remain that the district has 2 days. We feel that this would give the district some security in case there was an emergency that would present itself over the final months of the school year. Thank you for your consideration.
Any questions, concerns? Does this, is the May 22 date included in this, or how is that figured? The May 22 is the contingency makeup day.
So the contingency makeup day is if we go over, we have a day of school left. So if we need, so for instance, if we use all of our contingency days and we need another day of school because we didn't have enough time in school. We have the opposite problem, that we have leftover contingency days. We didn't go overboard.
Currently, May 22nd is a work day. It is not a student contact day.
The last day is the 21st.
Right, well, currently, the last student contact day is May 21st.
So then the last day would be, student contact day would be May 18th, correct?
Yes.
With 3 days. would be May 18th.
Y'all can check it, but Deborah, I want you to pull up the instructional minutes for me, please. Okay, because I did not have the same math, which I could easily mess that up.
If there's more days.
That might not be.
Thank you, Mrs. Gentry, I always appreciate that can-do spirit.
So May 21st is the schedule.
So, just for everyone's knowledge, as you know, we have graduation on May 16th, on there. Our seniors must have 1,086 hours to earn a diploma. And right now, They have exactly that. So, my only encouragement, whatever is decided, and this is definitely a board decision, please make it after graduation. Because our seniors, I cannot look at a senior parent, nor a senior teacher, nor our high school staff who manages graduation, and move that time frame up with them.
You guys have the calendars in front of you, do not? I'm pretty sure that date's well after graduation.
Yeah. Now, after that, that's where you discuss. I had, by calculating instructional minutes, we had 3 full days of instructional minutes as long as nothing else happens. I'm having Dimron check my math because I could easily be wrong because it was late at night when I was doing this. Of instructional minutes. Now, just for your knowledge, contract days and instructional minutes, 2 totally different things, okay? They're not the same. Staff are on a 185-day contract, which has 0 to do with student contact minutes. On an average day, there are 400 instructional minutes, or 6.66 hours, okay? In there, that's if normal Monday, we go to school, we start the day, we end the day. Now, where it gets a little wonky is if we have an early release, if we have half days, if we have cancellation. We've had 2 inclement weather days. We have 1 operational safety day. In there, those, we lost all instructional minutes, right? In there. We have, as long as nothing else crazy happens, we have enough instructional minutes for our pre-K, our seniors, and our K through 11. All right? And unless I easily could have made a mistake. I'm not trying to say I'm right and y'all wrong. We'd have to look at it together. But we have at least 3 days of additional time. As long as nothing else happens, we'll have the 11/16 without having to add time to the calendar for this school year. Now, what the board chooses to do, totally a board decision. You know, I appreciate the NEA advocating for all staff, for
Thank you for that.
child
That's
nutrition, or
100%.
classified, or bus drivers. Thank you for that. And then I'm just gonna open it up to y'all to discuss.
Well, I personally would be in favor of 2 days, and the only reason I wouldn't go on is I'm just thinking of the families, and I've talked to some families, and it's just when we change things, and that's what I think we should talk about next year, is how we don't have to do this. Maybe we don't have 8 days, maybe we just have 4, but then again, then we'll have 8 snow days, and then we'll be talking about making up time. That's why this is just a hard decision all the way around. But I am definitely for the 2 days, to give back 2 days, but I don't know what you all's thoughts are.
I think 3 is reasonable. I think 3 is reasonable. Mainly because of the way we got the 8 days to begin with. And it was because we wanted the 400 minutes to be easier to report. The sidebar was more instructional minutes, but that was the sidebar. And then it was, I understand anything to make something easier is good. But for 2 decades, superintendents were able to figure without 400 on each building. And auditors were able to do it, and Lori was able to do it.
And the 8 snow days are in the 185 contract days, correct?
Oh, yeah. So there's not, like, if whatever happened, and if we worked every day, no snow days, no inclement weather days. We started in August, we ended in May, we came to school every day. We would have well more than 11/16 hours, but as far as working days, they will have only worked 185 days. There's no extra days in their contract.
There's no, right.
I just think that since we have it this time, this particular year, that 3 would be reasonable. We'd still have our 2 for emergencies.
Well, that was our goal.
No,
we wouldn't.
We wouldn't. No, and I need Dimron
We
to
would
check my
have
math.
1.
If you do 3 days, we would have none for emergency. But if you do it that very last week and something does happen, and we had to add back, we could say psych.
Well, I think people are aware of that. If like all of a
It's
sudden
really-
there's an emergency and the main water thing goes out and they're out for 2 days, you know very well you're gonna
Gonna
have to
come
put them
back
back.
for 2 days.
And parents do too.
Well, and that was our goal with this one, was kind of keeping this one in a vacuum of like, we know that this year is, you know, and it's different than last year, and next year is going to be different in terms of how we calculate these days. And so we kind of wanted to jump on the opportunity as like kind of a morale boost for teachers that, you know, and to give back to the students would obviously enjoy it. And obviously, yes, if there is issues, in the same way that if we only had 5 contingency days and we had to have 7 snow days because of safety, we know that those 2 are coming back at the end of the year. So at least from the teacher perspective, there's not any expectation that like, oh, if something happens for safety or for whatever, that like, oh shoot, we're gonna be mad, we gotta come back. We know we have to, that's the job. So in terms of like, you know, if we can get those back, it's great. If we have to end up coming back because of, you know, act of God, then that's what happens.
Plan.
Yeah.
You know, somehow we have to figure out.
This is
kind of
very
goes back to my
uncomfortable,
question, but
yeah.
If to avoid this in the future, would it make sense to add more, just include more makeup days on the calendar? So instead of having like 1 makeup day for verification,
I think
to have 3 snow days or something?
We have a
3
good
makeup
problem this time.
Yes.
We have a good problem.
I think we have a good system.
Yes.
Overall, I think it works really well. And I understand in the past, there's been a run in that. However, the thing is, once again, we're getting into contract days versus instructional minutes. And those are 2 totally separate things. So if we do less instructional days, sure, but you're still under a 185-day contract unless that changes. You know, and I'm not saying it won't change, I'm just saying there's 2 separate things there, right?
So is this something that like more and more snow days have been built into the contingency here, or how do we get to this point?
No, usually, most school districts have around 6. The state requires 5. Okay, most do about 6. Some do. Atchison has ended up over the last couple of years doing about 8.
And we've used 8 in the past.
And where you've gotten that is you don't have hardly
But not this year.
You don't have hardly any full-day PDs during the year.
Right.
A lot of districts have scattered throughout full-day PDs. You have some early releases, and you have about 1 a semester full-day PDs. So your PD days only count for 0.5 student contact, okay, for instructional minutes in there. Your work days count as a contract day, but 0 instructional minutes. So we could have a 220-day contract, not that we are, I'm just using it as an example.
Yeah, we're not.
220-day contract, and you have 5 million work days, it still does not change that needle for instructional minutes, okay? So, in there, it's a good problem to have, because just as soon as you have less than 8, what's gonna happen is, or less than the amount of minutes that we have, because we have overrun minutes and hours, you're gonna have a hard winter like last year. Like many districts, my previous one included, not only did we have to give up we had to give up a day off, we had to give up a PD day, we had to add minutes, we had to do all these things to capture, because we only had 6 days, LRs embedded. Where Atchison didn't have to go through that many steps. So, that is something we definitely can look at. The calendar is set for next year, and I'm happy with it. If y'all are happy with it, I think teachers are happy with the calendar for next year. We have plenty of minutes scheduled in, so if we have a hard winter, we'll be okay, unless it's like terribly hard, and then we'll just get through it. But in there, the question is, if we're looking at, we'll say the 3 days. I want to make sure I'm saying out loud. That means students' last day of school would be the 18th, workday on the 19th. Am I thinking correctly?
Yes.
So as the question for our board to consider, once again, I have no recommendation on this, is community members, family members, what hardships will that place? And on that, is that something, and I don't have the background with Atchison, I will tell you, there was really only one family that was very verbal when we had that operational safety day during state basketball, you know? And really, in all honesty, on the 2 inclement weather days we had this year, there was a couple of, I walked 5, miles uphill and 17 feet of snow both ways, but
Matt Weiser's speech.
there really wasn't a lot of turmoil in either situation. So, with that, a couple of things to note, and I want to say it out loud, because I don't know how this works. But I did ask to be prepared, because I wasn't sure what you guys were going to recommend exactly, but I knew it'd be that last week. We do have regional sports that last week. So we will have events going on. That always happens, right? We do need to get this out, so high school teachers' finals can be scheduled. We do need to get this out also because I want to celebrate retirees. And we'll need to make sure that on that, whatever day, that 19th, we have our breakfast and years of service and all that, if that's the way you go. So if I'm understanding correctly, the question on the table, and I, as a board, I think everyone kind of needs to chime in here, is no one seems to be against giving some days at the end of the year.
No.
The question comes in, do you think 2 or 3? And where's the balance in stakeholders versus morale versus students? I guarantee you students are gonna love it. And I guarantee you overwhelming majority of staff are gonna love it. There'll be someone that doesn't, but no good deed, and all that. So with that, as the board, what are kind of your thoughts on that?
So it's classified like the parents that,
They would be paid. And that would come out of general fund, just so you know, because there's no student contact on that.
Everybody in the district will be paid.
Yes.
Everybody.
Yeah, I would lose sleep over that. Yeah, I would lose
So I
sleep.
think we're in a unique position this year. We can do it.
I have had one family reach out to me and said, are we getting our days back at the end of the year? And they were really excited about it. That's the only family I've had reach out, and they were excited about getting some days back.
And whether we do or whether we don't, one day, I mean, they adjust. They all adjust. I just think it's a way to appreciate.
I don't have a problem with it. We've done it before. As long as it's understood that it's a year to year. It's not something that you don't do.
Yeah, I would like to actually see in the future something formalized so that it's not we maybe do this or that, just have a written, this is how this decision is made, and then there's no, if you're trying to figure it out, what did we do last year? That sort of issue.
Exactly. Is there a particular, rule of thumb or something that pops in your head when you think about how that decision to be made?
I think it'd probably be a negotiation point, and have to figure out what makes sense.
Part of it too is you don't know from year to year what the weather's gonna do. So.
Or if you have water shut down or electricity shut down. Or
We've been very fortunate this year. That's why I said for this year, I think it's a good thing.
So, we'll say out loud, and then somebody who gets to vote has to actually make the motion. If I'm understanding the will of the board is in consensus that the last student contact day would be Monday, May 18th, with the teacher work day being Tuesday, May 19th, end of contract for teachers and staff. With the asterisk if you have additional days, yada, 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 et cetera, et cetera. All right?
I would make a motion that we amend the calendar for the 2020 25-26 school year, so the last day of school is May 18th, and the teacher workday is Tuesday, May 19th.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. It does pass unanimously. Thank you so much. Thank you. All right. DOE capacity determination is Dr. Nicole Honeywell.
Hey, can we please take a moment to do some snack celebration? Dr. Nicole Honeywell, edits have been turned in, and she is official.
And here with a much less fun discussion for you. But so we're talking about our annual capacity study today. So the first thing I wanted to do is do a high-level overview of policy JBCC, and this is the policy that was put in place specifically December 2023. I looked it up due to legislative changes about how we accept out-of-district students. So all districts had to adopt a policy addressing that. So we are required to present to you basically our recommendations for capacity. So you think capacity, it's like how many can be on the elevator. But we look at a variety of factors when we're making recommendations on that. So we're including our total student capacity recommendations for K through 8. They request that we do that per grade level. We've adopted that same format for high school as of now. At some point we could say this is the maximum number of students who could be in whichever CTE pathway if we had concerns with overcrowding. Moving on. And so basically the non-resident enrollment process between January 1 through June 15th, families can apply to be part of your district if they're an out-of-district student. If the applications are less than the available seats, everyone is accepted with the caveat they do have to be a student in good standing. And then if applications exceed the number of seats, there's a crazy lottery process that we would have to do. We've never had to do that. We haven't had that number of students exceed the capacity. So, and then families are notified of decisions by July 30th. I would say we try to do that in a much more timely fashion so that they can be prepared. In our enrollment process, we do give priority access to siblings of currently accepted students or children of district employees, military students, because that's also the law, and then certain students in state custody, that's the law. Okay, important rules and restrictions. We can't charge any tuition outside of our normal enrollment fees. And of course, we can't be discriminatory in our practices based off which students that we accept or not. And in general, students can only transfer once per year, so they can't play a game of school district hopping as part of this process. Of course, special consideration for any federal laws, so homeless students are protected. We accept that enrollment, and that's ongoing. Virtual schools are not applied here, neither are military-based schools. And then I will say that the only way a student who's an out-of-district student can go to Central is if they go through our district placement team. So we might sometimes have a student who's in our district, we see needs, and we decide, let's have them move to Central, but it has not been our past practice to have an out-of-district student automatically be placed in Central. So we don't plan to change that practice. And transportation, so this is a touchy one. We're not technically required to transport students. However, if we did have, a student who lived in Leavenworth and we accepted them in our district, they have an IEP, then we decide they need transportation as a related service, we would have to figure that out. So I just like to throw that out there. We haven't encountered that, but as soon as this law changed, districts were concerned about that. And then continued enrollment, once accepted, they may stay enrolled until graduation unless their good standing status changes. So good standing status kind of follows what you typically know about good standing, but essentially, are they on track to graduate with their cohort? We take a look at that. Are they chronically absent? Did they provide false information during the enrollment process? Are they a resident of Kansas? Currently, we don't receive any funding if they are not a resident of Kansas, so we don't have to prioritize students out of state. Are they under a period of suspension or expulsion? And that's always been the case anytime we have students come to enroll. Do they have 3 or more out-of-school suspensions in the current school year? and then if they have a long-term suspension. And I put a little asterisk by that one because if they are a student on a 504 plan or an IEP, we just have to be careful, right? And make sure that behavior that they're being suspended for is not related to their disability. So that's a little asterisk. And there is an appeal process for students who are new to requesting to enroll with us, but once they're with us, that appeal process doesn't exist any longer. And we talked about out-of-state students. So that's that overview of that policy. Be glad to send it to you if you want to read it for some fun. But essentially, we're here today to give you the capacity recommendations. We do have to post those on our website by June 1st. May 1st? It's May 1st, I think. May 1st. That's why we do it in April. Okay. So what you'll see here is K through 5. We have the 25-26, what we set the established capacity at. We have our projected enrollment for 26-27. And then our capacity numbers, and then just a little math of how many open seats that would be. So you see a significant reduction here. We did that because we are frosting current positions at the elementary, and we just wanted to be on the more cautious side of those numbers. And then for the middle school, we maintained the same. And then high school maintained the same. So they're still seeing those higher numbers. They haven't quite hit that enrollment dip yet.
And this is a trend, though, not only across the state, but across the whole United States, right? Because the lower birth rates, and it's over the COVID year is when it really first started, and that's why we're seeing the, and you would have thought when COVID, everybody home, we wouldn't have a decline, but yeah, but it's all over.
I know even professors at the college level are using the same words, birth dearth.
Yeah.
Families are just not having the number of children.
Right.
For lots of reasons.
And just clarification, so there are no out-of-district fees charged?
This just the normal tuition fees that you would have. We're not allowed to charge anything additional.
So how many out-of-district kids do we normally get?
It was right around 100. We'd have to double check. Do you have those numbers? Great.
We can follow up with you on that.
Yep.
It was a lot this year.
The concern I have is because we're taking in some of these 35 off of like the kindergarten and the first grade level, is that are we putting it in a position where now we are not, like, we have to take siblings, for example. So if we have an 8th grader and a 1st grader, does that put us in a situation now? What happens then? How do we address that?
Yeah, and we might need to look more specifically at what are the trends in our out-of-district students to adjust those numbers.
Nicole, correct me if I'm wrong, once a student is accepted as a non-resident, they then stay in these counts until they choose to unenroll or graduate.
Unless they're not in good standing, yeah. Yep.
So they're already included in those projected enrollment they were with us last year.
True,
So it's
true,
just
yes.
use the district
Yes.
as part of this, correct?
Yes, because we count them as ours once they're part of ours.
And if we have students living in our boundaries, we will take them no matter what the rates say. So if we have a family move in and they've got 3 kindergartners, our neighbors have 6 kindergartners, we would have to accommodate them because they're within our boundaries, right?
Correct, yep. So we have a lot of families who might move between us, Effingham, some local districts, and sometimes they'll move and stay where they're at, but this is just those out of district, out of residence students.
Well, because, I mean, we went from having, it looks like probably considerably higher numbers to, like the 2 number and that kind of thing. Do we need to add more, make that number higher to be able to allow at least some people to come in? Because, 2 seems like we might be in a situation now where we are not able to take them because we've capped out at 80, which seems, that doesn't give us a whole lot of leeway compared to what we've had traditionally.
Yeah, and we looked at, I think it was cohort years of over 5 years, over 7 years worth of trend data to kind of set these, and we could definitely adjust those either way. Part of the thinking was class sizes as well, keeping those manageable since we are frosting positions at the elementary.
Well, and the reality is, we talked about those 2 lines, right? Being so separated. And as we see more and more of those needs coming into schools, especially at that primary level, having the classes where we can really keep those numbers manageable, so we can target that support to kind of help with that, makes that easier to do in there. Now, right now, we are looking at going from 5 sections to 4 currently in kindergarten. So with that, that would leave classes of about 20 if all 80 came. Right now, classes are sitting at 14-ish in there. Now, some of that, and we could go and look and see how many kindergartners are out of district transfers, because even though there's 100, there doesn't have to be 100 counted in there, because after that first year, as long as they are in good standing, they automatically become ours. It's almost like they are residents. They no longer have to follow under the non-resident policy on there unless they lose their standing or leave and then try to come back on there.
Does it create any problems for us though if more people want to come in and we have 2 seats and?
If we get to that point, there's 2 things that can happen. If, let's say, we have an influx of kindergartners come in that's unanticipated, and when you look at local county birth rates and things, it's not projected. But let's say something happens.
Well, this is for out of county.
Let's say everyone, the kindergarten teachers said, I'll pick on Effingham. Effingham or South Brown County, Donovan West, name your favorite neighboring district. Kindergarten team totally takes off every parent of incoming kindergartners. And they all decide that they're going to transport to Atchison. In that situation, we have a couple of options we can do. If we see that we're getting kind of close, and we can find a certified teacher, we'll hire an additional staff. Because as long as they are Kansas residents, we get their state-based aid per pupil for them. Now, if they live in Missouri, we don't get anything, right? We're doing it because these kids need great teachers like we have in our district. Then, if we also see that, we have 5 sections of this grade level, and we thought we still needed 5, but something happened, and well, we must have ticked off every kid in Atchison because they all went to Effingham, all right? Then we could internally transfer. I always hate doing that because teachers spend a lot of time over the summer preparing their lesson, preparing their classroom, getting ready, so I hate doing that, but it is a part of it. The thing that I would hate to do is once we post this, if we say, that we're gonna have 25 open seats, and I have 25 that do apply, I can't turn them away unless they're in bad standing. If I have 2 open seats, right, and something happens and we have greater capacity than 80, I can always add a teacher. I don't have to stop at 80. I can always add. I can't do the opposite once it's in there. That's my hesitancy.
Right.
For that, because I don't want to, I think kindergarten teachers are a special breed. As a middle school math teacher, I could never teach kindergarten, I tell you that up front.
They're the best.
They are the best.
They are the best.
But good question.
Yeah. Any other questions for Dr. Honeywell? Then I'd entertain a motion on the bottom. Should, on the very bottom of the agenda.
Do you want me?
Go ahead, yes,
Madam
please.
President, I move to approve the capacity for each grade level as presented.
May I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Sally. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. Thank you so much. That does pass unanimously. Next is our neighborhood revitalization plan, and I think Stephanie's going to visit with us about that.
We're just reading the motion to approve it, or?
Well, just talk, we can talk about it.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Go
Okay,
ahead.
so we attended the meeting on March 16th, and there was some back and forth on, oh gosh, Carrie, help me with the wording of that. It's the base, like, fee, the base amount that you are allowed to, hold on, I found it, I think. That's not it. So basically, they had raised the base for what you had to spend in order to qualify for the tax rebate program. I think they said they had boosted it up to $20,000 or $25,000, but it was originally at $5,000.
Yes.
So a lot of the conversation around that was that it wasn't accessible to everybody if they bumped it up quite that high. So they agreed to go back and put it back down to the $5,000 as the base. So that's why we didn't vote on it during that meeting. Because there was just a lot of back and forth, and we wanted to get the actual document with the amended changes in it before we went ahead and voted on it. So that's what we have.
And the neighborhood revitalization just gives people tax credits when they, no, you're good, when they purchase a home here or build a home or add to a home. It does give them, it's very enticing for families with kids to come to our district. So it's a good project to participate in. Our city and county,
they work together really well. The county just wanted to decrease the amount that they were going to be contributing in the future. So
and they cut the years. I think it was 15 years that people got tax breaks. Now it's 8. Is that correct? 8. Yeah. So it's a very good incentive for people to come and invest in Atchison.
The neighborhoods, they didn't have any limiting on location.
There are highlighted graphs for the neighborhood, but you can ask and get a grant.
Yeah.
If you're upgrading your home for more than $25,000, you have to upgrade more than $25,000, I think, to get.
The tax rebate?
Yes.
They had changed it to that. They put it back down to 5.
Yes, so it's going to cost you $5 to apply, but you can up to so much, anything you add on the property tax that it makes your house more, you get.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a great program, and I feel like we should join in.
Oh yeah, and all the entities work together really well.
Yes.
On it too. Like
It's the first time I've ever seen the city and county sit down at the table. It was beautiful. It was, because we've been there, and they were like, we're both on the same page. They have great leaders in both their organizations. So yeah. So Stephanie, with that.
Madam President, I move that we approve the Neighborhood Revitalization Plan as presented and amended at the hearing conducted on March 16th, 2026, and as presented at this meeting, and the board president execute such documents as are necessary to adopt that plan and enter into an interlocal agreement with the County of Atchison, the City of Atchison, the City of Effingham, and then I'm going to add all other entities listed.
Yes, all other entities. Yep. Thank you so much. Any discussion on that? Seeing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. It's a great plan. Thank you so much. That does pass unanimously. Now, on our items for, oh my gosh, I gotta go back because now I can't get my computer to go up. Just look at this.
We are going to bring to you, Dr. Honeywell is bringing to you
Yes.
The first read, and I'll let her tell you a little bit about this.
So normally, when we bring the first read, there's 50,000 handbooks, not really. In the past, each building has had their own individual handbook. We've had the district student family handbook, and we've had the activities athletics handbook. And we talked to the administrators about it, and we decided to consolidate this year because what we found is there were inconsistencies in language between handbooks, and that's just never good. That makes it harder for administrators to follow a policy. It makes it confusing for families. So this is our first attempt at bringing it all together. And so with that being said, we would just really like for you to take the next month to dig through that. And I know we already got a few questions, which is great. We just need more eyes on that to see if there are places where we are redundant, places where we need to solidify that language. And then building administrators are looking to make sure, is there anything they have currently in an existing handbook that really needs to be addressed in that district-wide handbook. So this is done to make communication better amongst staff as well as with families. So one district student handbook, and it has the athletic handbook in it. So if you would look through that, and then if you can send questions by May 1st, that way we can have all that information ready to share with you. And then personnel handbooks will come at a later date. So that way we're able to really focus on this change to one handbook.
Yeah, thank you so much, yeah. Yeah, because what was it, like six or seven that we used to?
6 or 7.
Good God, and I remember like, did I read this before? Did I already hear? Yeah.
Elementary, middle, high, central,
Yes.
district, and then so 6.
Yeah. So thank you so much for that work, that's awesome. Okay, so we'll take this next month to really dive into that and bring your questions to Laura as soon as we get them so we can get them answered. Then executive session.
Madam President, I move that we enter into executive session to discuss personal matters of non-elected personnel. And we take 20 minutes to do this, and I would ask we invite Denmark Montgomery, Nicole Honeywell, and Laura Batson.
May I have a second on that? Thank you, Stephanie. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. We'll be back in 20 minutes.
20, okay, great, because I just need to know what's going to take on my watch. Thank you.
Minutes. Thank
Okay.
you. All in favor, raise your right hand. Thank you so much.
20 minutes and go. 4 seconds.
Oh, we have 4 seconds? Uh-oh.
Please look at
Okay, we're not back in session till now. Okay, we are in session. So I would entertain the motion to, yes. Where am I? Sometimes, why does it do that? I don't know. Do we just need to accept the personnel?
No.
Two motions.
I think Sally's got
There it is. There, sorry. It goes off. It goes offline on me.
Okay. Madam President, I move we approve the job descriptions for the Director of Support Services and District Special Education System and Program Specialist.
I'll second.
Second, any discussion on that? Seeing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. Thank you so much. It does pass unanimously. And next?
Madam President, I move that we approve the personnel report as presented.
Perfect. Thank you for the second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. Thank you so much. Does pass unanimously again. And now I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Madam President, I make a motion to be adjourned.
Thank you so much. May I have a second? Thank you. Any discussion? Have a great night, everyone. Raise your hand if you agree. Thank you so much. Have a good night.